I'm Jim Shaw from the Colonial Times Magazine and chairman of the board of LexMedia. I'm pleased to be here today with Joe Pato, who's a member of the Lexington Select Board, serving in his third term. And I think you had mentioned that you're in your 7th year of doing this. That's a long commitment. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, and this is our daily update with a member of the Board of Selectmen. So, Joe, I'm really pleased that you could be with us here today, and thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought we'd go through a series of points. As you know, and as folks out there, as more and more people get to watching these updates, they understand that we use this opportunity not only to sort of talk about the number of folks infected with the virus, but more importantly, some of the resources that are out there. Because news doesn't necessarily change greatly day to day, but everyone feels it's important to sort of stay connected. And this is one way to do it, to hear from the leaders of the community on a daily basis. I think they find it comforting. So with that, we'll talk a little bit about I thought we'd talk about the COVID page, because that kind of starts with the number of folks who are infected in Lexington and where that number has gone from based on yesterday to today, and some of the resources that are there. So, Joe, if you want to sort of expound on that a little bit, that'd be great.
Right. One of the best resources available for local residents is on the town website, and it's the lexingtonma.gov/COVID-19 page. This page lays out all sorts of things that you might be interested in or need to know about Lexington's response, the state's response, ways of obtaining help, ways of offering help, and tracking what's going on. At the top of the page, where it says everything you want to know or need to know, includes information about the cases in Lexington. And it is now covering the confirmed COVID-19 diagnoses. It used to cover a little bit more, but the Board of Health has backed away from publishing the numbers of those who are in quarantine. It's getting more difficult to track that, as they need to spend time working with those people. So they're not updating that number. But one of the things that's really helpful there is if you find yourself in need of help, there is a page linked from this page that provides a catalog of different kinds of services, ranging from groups like the Neighbor Brigade, which will arrange for deliveries or getting something that you might need, to financial help. And this applies both for those who might need it. Through the Fund for Lexington, for example, is channeling all of its contributions until September into assisting Lexington residents affected by this disease. And it's managed by the Human Services Department. They have an application. Access to get to that, it can be found through the page. And similarly, there's a page to contribute. And one of the things that is new as of yesterday is that you can contribute to the Fund for Lexington electronically, online. It used to be you had to write a check or deliver it to town offices. We now have engaged the town's electronic payment processor to accept payments for the Fund for Lexington Relief Fund.
Great. Do you find, maybe it's too soon, because I know the big contribution that came from Takeda of $250,000, I know that's going to be put to really good use. But are you finding other folks are stepping up in the community and sending in some checks?
Absolutely. I've had a number of residents contact me directly asking, how can we contribute? And I've directed them to this information. Most of them said, can't I just click on something? And that is now in effect. So they're able to do that. And we're seeing a nice turnout.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, and maybe you don't have this information, do you know if families in need are taking advantage of that yet? I know that we're sort of just getting to the point where we're letting people know how to access it through Human Services through the website you talked about as well. There's a link to folks for folks there. But do we have any information as to whether or not people are actually taking advantage of it yet?
I don't have statistics yet. I would expect it's relatively early, and as this progresses, we will see more.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear people stepping up. This is Lexington, after all. You know, it's interesting. I was talking this morning with the GM of the Aloft Element Complex, where they're housing folks from the National Guard and medical personnel and other government folks, as well as that vulnerable population, some of the homeless who are in need of quarantine. They've stepped up there, and they've been getting calls up there from people in Lexington wondering, how can we help? You know, can we bring something? And I think the standard response is, particularly from the medical community, if you really want to help, stay home. Right. You know, don't get in the car and bring us a plate of cookies, because, you know, we're really working to save lives, and we want to make sure that, you know, we can start by having you stay at home. That's what we'd appreciate. So that's been kind of the response that we've been getting up there. But that's the response we're getting from people in Lexington, just wanting to be able to help. And I know that we're covering, the Colonial Times is covering some great activities that are going on out there. You know, Jesse Steigerwald and a group of folks are hard at work every day, making hundreds and hundreds of masks that they're making available to local and regional facilities in need of that, you know, the masks. There are others too. It doesn't, you know, I know Mrs. Lucente is also doing it with a group of people. So it's kind of nice to see that Lexington's stepping up. But you know, conversely, while people in Lexington are stepping up, people are still making bad choices. So it kind of segues into this the open space and recreational facilities that we have, the field, and people still congregating. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Right. We've been getting a lot of feedback from residents as they are walking in appropriate social distancing or physical distancing. They pass by fields, in particular at Lincoln Field, and notice that there have been groups playing soccer or other sports and group activities, and getting very concerned for their safety and well-being of others, that they're just too close together. And everyone should know that our fields are closed to all group sports. Don't play soccer, don't play lacrosse. The basketball courts, we've had to disable the hoops so that people weren't playing. I do know that the town is going to be ramping up the signage at these fields, so it's clearer that it isn't just that there's no league game. It's, you know, the neighborhood friends can't get together and play a game of soccer.
No pickup games, right?
Exactly. No pickup games. Enjoy the open space. Enjoy it with a 6-foot distance from somebody who's not living in your household. But don't do something that brings you into closer contact. So there'll be additional signage. There's going to be a step up in police patrols to remind people when they see them that they need to disperse. There have been some concerns about the bike path as well. We were hearing about that a little earlier. The Friends for Lexington Bikeway invested in some, you may be familiar with their Burma Shave-like signs, which have they put up every year, which are funny sayings to get social etiquette for use of the bikeway. They put in new ones that were really focused on social distancing and appropriate behavior on the bike path to make sure everyone is safe.
And I understand that the bike committee and I know that the organization you mentioned is responsible for pretty much maintaining the bike path. But isn't there an organization that's sort of going to be sort of talking soon to review policies for the bike path, or did I misunderstand that? That's a general thing independent to COVID-19. This is more focused right now to make sure that in the duration of this pandemic that people are behaving well. The good news is the police department has been out there. They've been doing some spot checks of counts and looking at how people are behaving. And it seems like those signs are having some effect. There's better distribution. There's always, the bike path is not that wide.
So when
Right.
people pass each other, they're always going to come in probably in less than 6 feet. But by and large, groups have been walking and bicycling appropriately. We've also noticed that there's been a relatively sharp reduction in traffic on streets.
Right.
And a number of bicyclists have moved over to using Mass Ave. And this becomes a really good opportunity for people to explore the town on small streets, the neighborhood streets, and do so appropriately, keeping a distance, getting exercise, and keeping separation. While I'm saying this, the reality is the volume of cars is way down. I want to remind motorists, now there are more pedestrians, and then we're encouraging the cyclists out there, remember to keep your speeds down. Just because there isn't another car in sight doesn't mean that you go zooming by. So, but
absolutely true.
Again,
Absolutely true.
The police department has given us feedback that things are looking pretty good.
Yeah. And they're doing a good job. I see them out there, and they're the police. You know, God love them. They're out there as well as the firefighters. You know, as our first responders, our first line of defense, if you will. But you know, they're out there and they're present, but they're not sort of. It has not become a police state. They're not stopping people. They're not harassing people. They're just encouraging people to use common sense, which is a good thing.
That's right.
So, and I think it runs it runs right along the lines of our community policing policies here in Lexington.
And we have a huge debt to our first responders and their willingness to be out there and putting themselves in danger, where today it's every interaction is a potential danger to them. And I'd like to add to that group the workers who are working in our grocery stores, who are fulfilling deliveries from groceries, from restaurants, who are preparing food. They're a vital link for the community, and my gratitude is immense.
Absolutely essential. You know, I understand today on my way into my office, and I'm here alone at my office, but I was listening to a news item about the workers that are sort of picketing, or I wouldn't call it necessarily a protest, outside Whole Foods somewhere in Boston, where they're asking the company to just provide simple PPE and other things that'll protect them, because they're on the front line like everyone else, providing essential services. So that sort of backs up what you're saying. I did see, somebody who lost their cool with somebody. There was somebody, a customer at one of the local grocery stores nearby. I won't say which one. One of the customers, just got impatient with the woman who was running the register, and just started cursing her out. And I shook my head, and I looked at that person saying, really, with everything we've got going on, you really, because it was a foot away from your ability to reach. That was what it was all about, and he lost his cool over that. People need to be patient. And I wanted to just, anecdotally speaking, something I saw yesterday on the way home, and this speaks to cyclists, and it's great to see them out there. It's that time of year, but I did see a group of sort of 30-something cyclists, all in cycle gear. These are avid cyclists going in on Mass Ave in East Lexington, 2 and 3 abreast, probably 8 or 9 of them. All within very close proximity. And I thought, well, it's really important for everybody to adhere to this. So I guess this is a plea for cyclists. If you're going to go out there and do this, please employ the same, you can go out there, you can cycle 6 feet away. You don't have to be 2 abreast or 3 abreast going down the avenue. Just employ the same common sense as everybody else, and enjoy it as you can. Because if it does, my guess is, things are going to get worse before they get better, and it's only a matter of time if people do not respond to these pleas to quarantine and stay at home. We will end up like every other state. Rather than having an advisory, we're going to have a stay-at-home order, and it will change. So, at any rate, let's talk a little bit about. Town meeting. I was talking with the town manager yesterday, And during his update, he was talking a little bit about town meeting and how they're trying to organize virtual town meeting. I know that the town meeting moderator, Deb Brown, has got some things that she's going to be announcing about that at some point, and how it will operate. And she, as the moderator, sort of is the point person on all of that. But I do know, according to the town manager, that you're part of a group of folks that are sort of trying to figure out technologically how to operate a town meeting. So I don't know what you're able to talk about, but any update would be appreciated.
Sure. As we've discussed at select board meetings, town meeting was postponed. It was postponed initially to April 15th, and we expect it to be postponed again by the moderator. What we're doing is, as in all aspects of reacting to this crisis, we're trying to balance preparedness with thoughtful planning and with the reality that we have to be flexible to react to the changing public health situation and the changing legal context for us to operate. So we can't just decide to do something. It has to be something that fits within the laws. That said, we are working hard on creating a platform or adopting a platform for a virtual meeting. When you would sit down and think about it, it's not quite as simple as just this Zoom session that the two of us are having. You'd have to accommodate about 200 active participants, 189 town meeting members, plus the 8 at-large members, accommodate access for the public to be able to submit their comments and to watch actively. We are grateful to LexMedia for their involvement in this as well, to make sure that whatever we do can be televised and recorded. What we're doing is we're working on some basics. We're working on how votes can be taken, how the moderator can track who is trying to get on the yes mic or no mic equivalents, and make sure that whatever we are using is something that is comfortable for people of all sorts of comfort with technology to be able to work. What happens when you have town meeting members who don't have a computer, who maybe only have a telephone to access the meeting? So all of those things are being worked into the plan, and as we develop it, we're then going to start rolling it out more broadly to town meeting members to describe, here's the layout. Now we're going to have small groups that are going to participate, and then the intention is to broaden that to a larger group, and eventually before we have a real town meeting, to have all of the members invited to a practice session so that the moderator can work with 200 people and make sure that there aren't any unexpected results. And we're preparing a set of what's the emergency backup plans? What happens when the network goes down? What happens when somebody can't be heard any longer? So these are things that we would have loved to have been able to say, the state is recommending everybody stays home, has banned large meetings. We can do this tomorrow. It takes time to put it into place in a way that passes muster with our legal system and passes muster for the community as a whole to be able to participate and not be disenfranchised.
Well, as usual, maybe Lexington can lead the way and serve as an example for how other communities can do this. We have such a wealth of people who understand how to do this kind of thing. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, you spearheaded and worked with a group of folks to bring in recorded voting in Lexington, didn't you?
I did, yes.
So you've had some experience doing just this, sort of leading the way and bringing sort of electronics into it to actually at that point to make the meetings more expeditious and move along quickly, because those votes sometimes could really take a long time to do.
Right.
No, revolutionized, yeah.
Right.
So, well, thank you for that. So now, just so people know, and this is less technical than it is more sort of, sort of run-of-the-mill town meeting stuff. I know that they're talking about sort of consolidating. some of the issues and putting them on a consent agenda, and so to sort of make the process flow a lot easier. Will once they figure this all out, will they send out a sort of a revised warrant so that people are able to see exactly what's going to be coming in front of town meeting?
So for this town meeting, I don't believe there'll be a revised warrant as much as there will be a publication of here's what the motions were. So
Okay.
The motions for a lot of the articles will be to actually move forward. There are some that are going to be indefinitely postponed. There are some that we're going to refer to committee so that it would come back at a special town meeting. We're hoping we'll be able to hold a traditional special town meeting later in the year. There is no guarantee that we'll be able to have a large meeting before there is a vaccine, right? So, so we're planning what happens if, but but there are a number of articles that weren't time critical, at least not time critical in the sense that they had to happen in the springtime rather than later in the year. And then there's some other ones that it can be delayed entirely. But that information is going to be published on the town website. There is a town meeting website that'll contain, here are the motions for all of the articles. Town meeting members will receive information. The presentations are going to be recorded and made available. And we're going to work this in a step-by-step process so that people have enough time to come up to speed with what's the information and how do I act on it, and not feel like as an individual, I didn't know this was going to happen this way and I don't know how to react. We're being deliberative in how we move forward.
Great. Well, I think we're all being well served by your leadership and the leadership of others, people who are stepping up to do extraordinary things. This is no small feat, trying to figure out how to hold a town meeting with so many people. So, and it's, and the idea that you're going to test it first and it just, and have a backup plan. I think we're all going to be very well served there. As we part here, Joe, I know that you want to talk a little bit about your hours and other folks, because you're still available. People can still reach out to you. And there you go, right there behind you. I'm going to start calling you Elizabeth Warren, because it's like she has a plan for that. You have a slide for that.
I try to. By training, I'm a computer scientist, and I've done this stuff for a long time. In any case, I hold office hours regularly every Wednesday. As people know, we're no longer doing these in person. I used to have my afternoon casual office hours at the community center, which I found to be a great way for people to just drop in and chat with me. And sometimes we'd have groups of people talking. That's not possible anymore. This is the lobby of the community center, of course, behind me in a still image. So what I've done instead is I've set up a virtual office hour that, again, is the casual meeting every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. We use Zoom, just like this interview is being conducted. And you can find the details for how to connect to that session at my website, joepato.org. That'll give you the time information and details. And if you wanted to make a direct appointment with me and not have anybody else around, that tells you how to contact the office to schedule the appointment. So you were talking before about an incident. This is a stressful time. It's a good opportunity to just drop in and chat. And if you have an issue or if you just want to have contact with somebody.
No, people are getting stressed, even on a beautiful day like this, people just want to get back to the normal way of life. I'm not sure that's going to happen for a long time. Even if once we get past the virus, it's tantamount to 9/11 and other great catastrophes that have happened in our lifetime. It takes a long time for life to get back to normal. I'm not sure it's going to happen anytime soon, even, like I say, even as we get by the virus. But the fact that that you're so available is commendable. I know you always have been. You're always very, very responsive. People in Lexington are very fortunate to have you serving on the select board. I look forward to continuing our conversations as we go forward. And I wish you and Jerry, good health and safety And thank you for being with us today. If you've got nothing else, we'll call it a day.
Thank you.
All right. And again, I encourage people to visit Joe on their website. And if you have questions at the end of this broadcast, we'll be putting up a slide with an email address where you can go ahead and send questions if you like, so that we can ask them as we do our updates. So again, thank you everyone for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thanks.